Hey friends, Beck the Feminist Lawyer here. Let's talk about tolerance and the separation of church and state. Now, if you've been following me for a while, you know that a lot of my content, obviously my name is Beck the Feminist Lawyer, so I do a lot of commentary on the law. However, I also do a lot of commentary on deconstruction and atheism and anti-theism. And I inevitably get a lot of those lovely comments of, oh, so much for the tolerant left. And so let's quickly touch upon a couple of things. The first thing is the paradox of social tolerance. I'm heading inside so my glasses don't go dark on you. So yes, a lot of people on the left are, pushing the idea of tolerance. So people that are different from you, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're wrong. However, this is not an overarching, constantly abiding principle. It's a social contract. And as we know about contracts, if you violate the terms of a contract, the contract is no longer enforceable. So if you sign a contract that says a condition of your employee is to come to work in a chicken suit every day, the day you come to work without your chicken suit may be grounds for termination of your contract. And tolerance works the same way. So the social contract is that people will be tolerant of your differences as long as you are tolerant of theirs. When you try to pass legislation that makes it illegal for trans people to use the bathroom that aligns with their gender expression, you are no longer participating in the contract of tolerance. When you attempt to force me to carry a dead fetus to term, endangering my life, in taking my ability to choose my own healthcare options from me, you are no longer participating in the social contract of tolerance, which means you may no longer benefit from that social contract. Which is why here I am, a member of the tolerant left, coming out and saying that your religion does not belong in my government or on my body or in my choices. I don't give a shit what your religion says you can or cannot do. I do not subscribe to your religion, which means it doesn't say anything about me. As hard as you want to scream and yell about how whether I believe it or not, it applies to me, sorry, it doesn't apply to me. I do not give a shit about the rules of your religion. Sorry. And when you try to use those rules to govern me, then we have a problem. I was just listening to the podcast, The Atheist Experience, and a caller came in and said, how does an atheist define their moral framework? And so the first thing they did was ask her what her moral framework was. And she said, well, I'm a Catholic. So my moral framework is that of the Catholic Church. And they said, okay, so do you believe that the Catholic Church has always been correct in the things that it did? And she said, well, no, of course, humanity is full of sinners, so there are people that have done things wrong. They asked her about the sex abuse scandals, and she blamed Pope Francis, who, wasn't even there. It was Pope Benedict and Pope John Paul. And then they asked her about the Crusades, and she said that it was good and righteous to convert people by the sword. And rightly so, one of the hosts said, I don't need to ask you any more questions, because if your moral framework says that it's okay to slaughter anyone who does not believe in the God that you believe in, that's not a moral framework, that's evil. And I looked at the comments, and in the comments, oh, so much for the tolerant left. Oh, the atheists being so tolerant again. Well, sorry, you just told me that your moral framework allows for knights of your church to go out and slaughter people because they refuse to convert? So no, your moral framework does not apply to me. Richard the Lionheart was a madman and a conqueror. And so he allied himself with the next most powerful governmental entity on earth, which was the Catholic Church. And they combined their forces to increase control and fill their coffers, whether it be by conquering or by slaughter. These people were evil incarnate. And then this woman went on to say, well, the problems in the church really all stemmed from Vatican II. The Second Vatican Council, and don't forget, you're talking to a former hardcore Catholic here. The Second Vatican Council did not very much. It offered masses in the vernacular instead of in Latin. It brought a priest out from behind a wall and where he was facing the congregation instead of facing a crucifix on the wall. It allowed women and lay people into lectry and altar service, and it attempted to unite the schismed Catholic sects under papal authority and unite the church. If you are simultaneously defending the Crusades and condemning Vatican II, You have told us all that you prefer conversion by fire instead of by inclusion. If the devil were real, he would be that. So clearly, the religious right has no interest in maintaining the social contract of tolerance, which means they do not get to benefit from it. So yes, when you tell me that you worship a God that flooded the entire world except for 2 people, and you believe that, and you believe it was okay, I got a problem with that. If you tell me that you worship a God that killed all of the firstborn children of Egypt except for the ones that had lamb's blood on their doors, I got a problem with that. If you tell me you worship a God that created a hell, a place of eternal suffering and torture, just so he could coerce you into worshiping him, I got a problem with that. And frankly, I doubt your ability to lead. Keep your eyes open, folks. The snake oil salesmen are everywhere. Stay safe out there, friends. Keep fighting the good fight.